I never seen her acting like that, like she was tonight.
Like what?
Like a kid.
Deja is back in this week's episode of This Is Us, so let's break down Season 2, Episode 17 right here on What Happened. How's it going, everybody? Lisa here, and thanks for hanging out with me again to talk all things This Is Us. So this week's episode is a Deja-centric episode. Now, I won't lie, after the build-up from Jack's death, this definitely seems like kind of jumping on a side street and feels sort of like filler just to hit an episode quota before the finale next week. However, I do think this was a very beautiful episode with great acting and a powerful message, and it does give us a lot more insight into Deja's life and why she was so closed off at the beginning of meeting Randall and Beth, and also we get to see how she ends up back with Randall and Beth. It kind of reminds me of the 11-centric episode in Season 2 of Stranger Things. I think people are either gonna like it or they won't like it. Now, in true This Is Us fashion though, it did cause me to tear up in those final minutes. Like, I thought I was gonna get through an episode scot-free, but Deja and her mom brought some tears. This episode shows us Deja's life and how she may think her life is completely different from the Pearsons, but through juxtaposition, we get to see that they've actually gone through some parallel moments when it comes to things like alcoholism, abuse, death, and happier moments like family heirlooms, cooking together, and more. The end of the episode ultimately shows Deja's mom, Shauna, leaving Deja at Beth and Randall's. Deja is already asleep, so it will be interesting to see if Deja will be mad or happy that her mother left her in the Pearsons' care. That's probably coming next week, but for now, let's break down this episode. It opens with the birth of Deja to her teenage mom, Shauna, who's 16, and Shauna's grandma, Gigi, right by her side. We also see the births of the big three and Annie and Tess. Right away, it seems evident that Shauna might have some trouble when it comes to motherhood, as she doesn't even want to hold baby Deja. But Gigi encourages her to and says the baby deserves a mother who will put her first, so Shauna does end up holding Deja. We then see Deja as a young girl, and it seems like she's been left by herself in the apartment. Gigi returns home from work and is not too happy to see that Deja is alone, but saves her anger for when Shauna returns home. Instead, Gigi sweetly reads Goodnight Moon to Deja, and we see that book has actually been read throughout the whole Pearson family, including little Jack reading it to his little brother Nicky. When Shauna returns home, she gets a stern talking to from Gigi, and Gigi eventually tells Shauna that she's gonna have to step up at some point because she herself can't carry this on for Shauna forever. We then see Shauna, Gigi, and Deja returning home from the grocery store, and unfortunately Gigi has what appears to be a heart attack in the hallway and dies, which is juxtaposed with seeing the loss of Jack, the loss of William's wife, and more. When Shauna goes to check on Deja afterwards and asks Deja what they're gonna do now, we see Deja pick up Goodnight Moon and start reading it, which just kind of foreshadows that Deja will end up taking on the role of the more responsible kind of one in the family, just like Grandma Gigi did. Flash forward to Deja being a teenager, and it's Shauna's birthday, so she tells Shauna she's going to cook dinner for her that night. Now, when Deja gets home from school, she tries opening a can of diced tomatoes and ends up cutting her hand badly, but she cannot get a hold of her mom. So instead, she gets herself to the hospital and gets stitched up. And the hospital is where we first meet her social worker, Linda. It turns out they can't get a hold of Shauna, but she eventually does show up, saying she lost track of time because they went out for her birthday. Now, in the flashbacks here, we see young Kate in a hospital bed being wheeled into the hospital with Kevin by her side. And I have a bad memory, but I don't know if we've seen young Kate in the hospital at all, so what could this be about? Or is it something we should note for the future, or is it just something to show, hey, they're all connected? Anyway, Deja ends up getting placed in the care of Mr. and Mrs. Miller, where she's sharing a room with a girl named Raven. Now, Deja's sweet and quiet, and Raven is the complete opposite, a little more wild and out there, and is not afraid to talk back to Mr. Miller. Raven ends up getting Deja to help steal some makeup from the corner store for the school dance, and they end up getting caught when the store owner turns up at the Miller house. It turns out Mr. Miller is abusive, and he goes to hit Deja, but Raven jumps in front of her, and we see that echoed in Jack protecting his brother from his dad. When Linda shows up for her visit, Deja eventually tells her that Mr. Miller hits them, so she and Raven get taken away and put in a shelter. And honestly, Raven's actually not too happy about it because she slept in so many beds being in the system that she was just happy to have one that she could stay out for a while, even if the guy did hit her. Raven's also mad now because they're going to be split up, and at least when they were at the Millers, they had each other. We then see that Shauna is finally out of rehab, and Deja gets to go home to her, and they plan on making Grandma's jambalaya, I can't say that word, which is what Deja was actually trying to make when she hurt her hand. Shauna then says a friend from rehab is coming over, and it is a guy named Lonzo, who definitely seems like bad news, and of course, he is. After a while, we see the start of Deja's alopecia. We learn that she was on the drill team and she, liked to run. And it's at drill team practice that Deja gets called out by the police, and Linda ends up telling her that Shauna was arrested for possession of a gun, which is Lonzo's. And that's when we see Deja brought to Randall's and Beth's, and we relive some of the moments from the previous episodes with Deja and the Pearsons. We then catch up to where Deja is asking Randall and Beth for money. Deja returns home and puts the money from Randall in the special shoebox that she had made to store their money in, and later overhears the landlord telling Shauna they have to pay the rent by the end of the day or they're out of there. So Deja goes to check on the shoebox to see if the money is in there, and it turns out Shauna took the money to help pay for Lonzo's bail because she feels like it's her fault that he's in jail. Like, seriously, girl? Well, Deja did try to sell off some of her stuff and almost sold off Gigi's brooch, but thankfully she didn't. She kept it as a family heirloom. And then we see scenes of Jack's brother's necklace that was passed down to Jack and then to Kevin. They end up being evicted, sleeping in the car, and that's when Beth and Randall return from Vegas and find them in the car, and they end up bringing them back to the Pearson house to stay for the night. They eat a family dinner, play games, and watch movies, and Shauna sees just how well Deja fits in with the Pearsons and how happy she is and how easily she fit back into the family. Everybody welcomed her back in, including Annie and Tess. When Deja goes up to bed, Shauna and Beth have a heart-to-heart, and Shauna reveals that she's never seen Deja like this before, acting like a kid, like she should be. Shauna also feels guilty for putting so much responsibility on Deja as a young kid because she always would say, "What would I do without you?" to Deja. Meanwhile, Deja's upstairs talking to Randall and how she always thought it was weird when Randall said she reminded him of him, but she thought about it more and realized that everyone falls asleep, everyone has hard things to go through. Everyone has something that hurts them and things that make them feel better. Now, she's not sure if that counts as the definition of deja vu, but Deja's been thinking so much about all of this. She then is tired and goes to bed, and when Randall returns downstairs, he sees that Shauna has already packed her bags, and she says she has to go, but she can't take Deja with her. And that's the moment when I started to lose it. Like, I can't even imagine how hard of a choice that was for Shauna. Like, sure, she was not the best parent. She messed up a lot, and but you kind of want a parent and child to be together if possible. For a parent to realize that they cannot provide for their child and they might not actually be the best thing for them, and that there's a better option for their kid to help their kid have a great life, that has to be so hard. And that's what I feel like was heartbreaking. And I really hope now that Shauna does go and get the help she needs and she can clean up her act, and hopefully she doesn't fully abandon Deja and she stays in contact with Deja, because I think Deja does need that. Now, like, sure, the Pearsons can provide Deja with a home, food, love, and all of that, but I think Deja still needs her mother's love. And I don't think Deja would do well if Shauna just completely cut her off. Like I said earlier, I really do love the message of this episode, and it's one that really hopefully makes you kind of stop and think after it's over. Sometimes it feels like we have issues and no one will understand, and things are bad for us, but not for someone else, or something like that. But you kind of got to remember, take a step back, that you never know what someone is really going through. We all put on masks, and everybody goes through hard times. So hopefully it just stirs up feelings of compassion and reevaluating things around you. At least that's kind of what I thought while watching this episode. Now it's on to the season 2 finale next week, so let's watch the promo.
Next Tuesday, you're invited to the This Is Us season finale.
Guy that gets to marry you, Katie girl, he is one lucky guy. Where did the time go back?
Then
we get to see old Jack. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably a dream sequence, and these pictures of Milo and Mandy in that makeup on set leaked earlier because of paparazzi, so we kind of knew it was coming, but it's honestly still really cool to see. Like, can you imagine if there was some weird twist of fate and Jack faked his death for some reason and is popping up now for Kate's wedding? Okay, yeah, that would be kind of cruel, but we've all wondered what Jack would have been like if he had lived, so I guess we are going to finally get to see that chance, even if it was a dream. And I already know now I need to grab a few more boxes of tissue at the store, and hopefully you guys do too. Alright, so what did you think of this week's Deja-centric episode? Are you happy she's back with the Pearson family? What are you hoping for with this season finale? Leave all your thoughts down in the comments below or tweet me, and then you can click right over here to see my interview with Hannah Zeal, who plays Teenage Kate, where she teases the finale episode. Be sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you like what you see. My name's Lisa. I'll see you guys again soon.